Here is the recipe that I cook in this video. Feel free to screenshot, write it down, or copy from the description. This is beef stroganoff, an absolute classic, which should come together in less than 45 minutes. The only real prep work here is to slice the onions. The way I like to do this is to first cut off the stem end, set it on the cut side, and bisect the onion through the root. Peel the top layer or two, and slice off the root end of each half. Then, making radial cuts, slice the onions from root to stem into thin strips. Set those aside and we can contend with the steaks. Here I have 1.5 pounds of sirloin steak. It doesn't have to be sirloin. I just chose these because they were cheap. I would not recommend eye of round steaks. They are way too tough when cooked. I would also recommend against premium cuts like ribeye, as it's going to be fully cooked by the time we're done, and to cook a ribeye well done, it's just a waste of money. Note, if you want to use ground beef, the process is pretty much the same. Just make small, bite-sized meatballs with 1 pound of ground beef and your preferred mix-ins. Anyway, add plenty of salt to the steaks and set them aside. At the stovetop, I have a large Dutch oven, though a large stock pot would work as well. Add in a tablespoon of neutral oil. Here I have vegetable oil, and turn the burner on medium-high. Once that is sizzling hot, add the steak to the bottom, and let it brown for a few minutes. We are not necessarily trying to cook the steaks, just browning them to get some extra flavor. Once the first side is browned, flip the steaks and brown the other side. You will notice that we start to develop a fond on the bottom of the pot. Once that side is done, set the steaks aside once more and add in our sliced onions. Before the fond burns, I'm just going to pour in enough white wine to cover the bottom of the pot. This will allow you to easily scrape up all of that residue. A question I had when I started cooking was, what kind of white wine should I use in my cooking? There are so many choices after all. My recommendation is to find the cheapest, nastiest, bottom shelf wine you can find. It really doesn't make a difference in the finished dish, and you won't be tempted to drink it. It's a win-win. One thing to make sure is that you're getting one with a screw top lid, so it's easy to reseal it between dishes. Once the bottom of the pot is nice and clean, go ahead and add 1/2 pound of mushrooms and stir to combine. Now, it's my experience that every family has a mushroom hater, so feel free to omit these if you want. Let those cook for about 15 minutes until the mushrooms have shrunk and the onions are tender. Add salt and pepper to taste. This done, add in 2 cups of high-quality beef broth. Do not add more than this, as it will make thickening the sauce more difficult down the line. Bring that up to a gentle simmer. It is around this time that I usually set a pot of water for the egg noodles on the stovetop and add salt until the water is noticeably salty. Set the burner on high and bring that to a boil. While this is happening, you can pour in any beef juices from the rested steaks. Bring those to a cutting board and check the steaks to see what direction the fibers are running. You're going to want to cut the steak across those grains into thin slices, about 1/4 inch thick. Take those back to the stove and add the slices to the pot. If any of the slices are still raw in the middle, they will cook almost immediately. If you're using meatballs, add them at this point and let them simmer for at least 5 minutes before moving on. Lower the heat on the beef mixture to your stove's lowest setting. Once you are sure it's not simmering, add in the principal defining ingredient of beef stroganoff, sour cream. Now, I will confess I don't like sour cream very much, but I will concede that it is necessary for the flavor of this dish. But there is a compromise. Normally, for this much beef stroganoff, I would add about 3/4 of a cup of sour cream. Instead, I will add about 1/4 cup of sour cream and substitute the rest with the closest thing to sour cream, full-fat Greek yogurt. This will perform the same function with a much more mild flavor. If you are 100% against using sour cream, feel free to substitute all of it with the Greek yogurt. It's a 1-to-1 replacement. The only other thing to do at this point is thickening. Once you add the sour cream to the pot, you can no longer boil it, as the milk fats in the sour cream could separate and ruin the dish. Instead, we are going to need to thicken this with a cornstarch slurry. To make it, just mix equal parts of cornstarch with cold water, 2 tablespoons of both in this case. Once that is completely combined, bring that over to the pot and add in half of it. Stir to combine and observe the texture. You want it to have an almost creamy texture. If it is still somewhat watery after the first half, add the rest. Stir and let sit until the noodles are done. Over at the boiling water, add egg noodles and stir to avoid sticking. Cook those as indicated on the package and drain when done. If you want a bit of extra flavor, you can add a couple of tablespoons of butter to the noodles for extra richness, but it's not necessary. And that is done. Lay down a bed of those egg noodles, ladle over the beef stroganoff mixture, and enjoy. If you have not had beef stroganoff before, you should definitely give it a shot. It's a unique flavor and a fantastic change of pace from the tomato-based pasta dishes that we're used to. And thanks for watching. This took a bit of work to nail down, as every recipe I referenced ended up with way too much liquid at the end. This is what I found to give the texture I was looking for. Next time I'll be showing you my chicken parmesan recipe. I hope to see you then.